rolling? Okay. All right, so now that you're done making some files, it's time to learn how to laser engrave those files with using the CNC laser. So go ahead and open up whatever file you're working on in CorelDRAW. In this instance, we're going to use a file for a cutting board that we're going to make, and send that over to the laser. So first we're going to plug in the laser itself so that we can start turning that on. Now, and it's kind of good to kind of look at how the computer and the laser are talking to each other too. So the computer, when you're sending a file over to the CNC laser, as far as the computer's concerned, it thinks it's sending a file like just to a printer. It views the laser as if it were a printer, and it sends that information over there the same way. So when you finish making your file, you're just going to go as if you were printing that file on a regular inkjet or laserjet printer. So just go File, and then Print, and then you have to select it from the drop-down menu in the printer. For the type of laser we have, it's a VLS 3.5, and it's a universal laser that we use. And then just hit Print. And so in CorelDRAW, the program that we were using to design in, you're done at that point with CorelDRAW. So we're just going to minimize that. And now we're going to open up the file for the software to run the laser itself. So with the universal, that's a little red box that says UCP, and so we'll just click on that one to open it up. Okay, and we got to turn the laser on, so we can hit the power button on here, we can hit the power button on the laser. And some of these things might be a little bit different if they're on a different kind of laser, but they're going to still be pretty similar as well. So while that warms up, we can start to do some things. You've got all of this here, all of the numbers here corresponds with the workspace in the laser itself. So we've got 12 inches of workspace here, and we've got 24 inches of workspace there. Right now we have a honeycomb tray in here so that you could cut on it if you wanted to, but you can still engrave on it as well. But it kind of gives you the freedom to do both. So I liked, if I have a jig made, then that's the best for making sure you get things placed just right. But on this cutting board we don't have a jig made, and on a lot of things we won't. So I'm going to just center it and then try to line things up. So I'm going to click on this Locate View button in this UCP software. It's just in the middle, looks like 4 arrows, and you click on that. And then I'm going to make sure that the center of the object is highlighted in the screen. And then I'm going to just type in coordinates for the middle. So 12 will be the center of a 24-inch footprint, and then 6 will be the center in the Y dimension. So that's going to kind of center everything that's going to be engraved with the laser. Then I'm going to move over one to the focus view. It kind of looks like the tip of a ballpoint pen. I'm not sure what that's actually a picture of. It's probably the laser itself and focusing in to the object, but kind of looks like a ballpoint pen. So from there, I'm going to move over here. Wherever you click, the laser will go point a red dot there so that you can figure out where that is on the laser itself. So I'm going to go to that very center point at 12.6 and point a dot there. And let me take my cutting board that we made. We just made a maple cutting board, and we're going to engrave onto it. Maybe kind of pick where you want things to go, what part you think looks the best, and then we're going to put it under there. Now, if I use the center points on there, there's a number of different ways that you can kind of line things up and center them. I'm going to just use a ruler. This cutting board is exactly 12 inches, so if I position that red dot on 6 inches, then I'll know that I'm in the middle of that X coordinate. And then to go the other way, if I position that ruler This cutting board is exactly 9 inches, so if I put it at 4.5, then I'll know that I'm in the center again. So I'm going to move this to 4.5 inches. Then I'm going to just kind of make sure that I'm not askew any. So check it again. Remember the saying, measure twice, cut once, so that applies to lots of things, including doing the laser work. You don't want to ruin a nice piece. Okay, so that's kind of centered up. Now I'm going to check my 4 corners. So I'm going to go click up into the corner of where I'm going to be engraving, make sure that it's still on the piece, and kind of look at my spacing on it, which looks pretty good. Then I'm going to go over to the other corner, see how we look. Okay, and we're kind of, so on this corner we're kind of off a little bit, so I think I need to rotate this a little bit. So my rotation was kind of out of alignment a little bit is what it looks like. But check the other side, it still looks good. Come back this one again, measure twice or more, cut once. Now we look much better there. Now I'm going to come and check the bottom. Looks pretty good. And check the other corner. And so we've checked all 4 corners and we look pretty good. So now we want to check the Z coordinates. The Z coordinate is supposed to match the thickness of the material that you put in there. So you're going to want to measure it with a caliper before you put it in. We measured this one to be 0.72 inches thick. So we need to lower down our tray. And you're not going to be able to get it dead on, but you're going to get as close as you can. The 1000th place is not going to match perfectly, but you can get pretty close. Okay, then the last thing is to tell the laser software what kind of material you just put in there. So we're going to click on Settings, and then it'll pop up a screen where you can tell it, or maybe it will. If my computer doesn't freeze, there we go. Alright, so what kind of material you put in there. So we've got a database loaded in there that has all different kinds of materials in there. Ceramics, glass, plastics. So wood's going to be in natural materials, and then we can open up wood again, and hardwood. This is a maple that we put in there, so we're just going to click that. And then the thickness, we're going to type in the 0.72 inches. And if we hit OK, it's going to ask us, it's going to tell us, hey, this wood is too thick to cut. Well, we're just engraving this wood, so that's okay, so we're going to click yes. But if you were cutting, that would be a warning that would tell you that you're not going to be able to cut that in one pass. And if you do multiple passes, then you're probably going to end up with a lot of burnt edges. So, so that's it to tell it what kind of material we just put in there. You can, going back to the settings real quick, if you turn up the raster, that's going to make your engraving a little bit darker, and if you turn it down, that's going to make it a little bit lighter. There's a vector engraving, and we'll talk about the difference between raster and vector somewhere else. But in a nutshell, if you made hairline blue lines in your display, it'll do a vector engrave, and you can thicken or lighten that, or deepen or lighten that. And then the vector cutting is when you're actually cutting. Those would be your hairline red lines. And if you want to make sure you get all the way through, you can turn it up a little bit, or if you don't quite want to cut it as much, you can turn it down a little bit. But for this one, I think we actually do want to turn the raster up a little bit. It's a cutting board, it's going to get chewed up a little bit, so we want those lines to be nice and deep. So then last up, you're ready to just put the lid down, and you turn the filter on with just the push of a button, and then you're ready to fire it up. So you can just hit the green go button, and that'll start it up. So now it'll engrave the whatever it is that you designed, and depending on what it is, it may take a few minutes, up to, it could be as long as an hour if it was a really big piece that was using the whole tray. And that's it.